Let's go! It's part 2 of the LSU offensive disaster class versus the Florida Gators. And I got a hot take at the end of this that you guys are not going to like. So, part 1 of this, along with our Blake Baker breakdown, will all be linked down below. This was a ridiculous piece of quarterbacking. And you guys know I have been singing the praises of Aaron Anderson, but I would like him to start making more of these very difficult grabs. So you'll see right here, this ball is placed right behind this guy's shoulder. And this is a really good piece of quarterbacking because if his back is turned, he's never just turning around and making that play. It looks like it did not take a deflection. Boom. Okay. Aaron is so good. All right. But, man, it would be nice to have that one. So I want you to see how this play actually unfolded. So we're running 4 verts here, and you can see that this safety is on the hash. This safety is on the hash. So it's split field, and you're thinking that the vertical that Aaron is going to run is going to hold the safety. And you can see that Barryon gets a really good jump off the line of scrimmage versus Carmani McLean. And it looks as if this is going to be open. But look at Garrett. He pauses because he sees that the safety is now going over the top on Barryon. So once he sees the safety is really pressured over here and his hips are over here, Garrett's like, I'm going to try and put this ball into this window right here. Okay, so when you see this, this is ridiculous. It is freaking ridiculous, all right? Weston Davis gets beat off the edge, and you can see that Garrett had to really, he starts off looking left or center field. Then he's looking to the far right, throwing this to Barryon. Then he resets his feet, and you can see there was a slight tilt going towards Aaron. Now you'll see it from the end zone copy here. All right, you can see it looks as if he is facing Barryon Brown to the outside. He sees that the safety is over there, resets his feet, and then actually throws his football flat-footed, okay, floating this into the path of, that is a ridiculous quarterback play. Holy moly. That is one of the better throws you'll see an LSU quarterback make. We run the same play, but this time it is out of, trips to the right. It looks as if we are running 4 verts again. It's impossible for me to know. And basically same thing again. Weston Davis leans and the edge is compromised yet again. It's not that much better on this side, but it's also not the absolute worst thing I've seen, to be honest. So Garrett, once again, in a semi-dirty pocket, throws this up. And we got bailed out, to me, on a not-so-great pass interference call. Still, we'll take it, and we get the PI. Okay, now we get to the single most underrated play in this game, and it's right freaking here. And 2 people make it, and that's ironically the 2 smallest people that are on the field doing the 2 feats of nature that are truly incredible. Now, before I actually play this play, I do owe an apology to Thompson and the Thompson family. I like Josh Thompson a lot, number 56, the transfer from Northwestern. I know he has struggled, but we would be in a lot worse place if he wasn't here. I truly do believe it. Now, this is one of the most difficult blocks that an offensive guard is going to make at any level of college football. This one right here, okay? So Josh Thompson, week 1, plays Peter Woods, and we had a few guys help him when he missed blocks on Peter Woods for us to win this game. In this instance, he doesn't have any help, okay? Now, part of what makes this difficult is Florida is in what's called an under front, all right? So normally to the strength of the formation, which would be to the left, the 3-technique defensive tackle, which is the outside shoulder of the offensive guard, is going to be on this side. But in this instance, we're trying to run an outside handoff to the right side, and Thompson has to get all the way around of Caleb Banks to seal him, or at least try to seal him to the inside, so Kanan Durham could get to the outside, okay? It's really freaking hard, okay? I'm going to be honest. Quentin Nelson, who wears the same number, plays the same position of the Indianapolis Colts, who also played for Brian Kelly, this would be an extremely difficult block for him to make, just to simply put it, okay? So we call the play, and another thing that makes this very difficult is the distance between Garrett and Caden here is pretty big, okay, to make potentially people think that we actually are running a quick screen to the left or a pitch to the left. So this is a simple handoff to the right side, okay? And you can see here, I wanted to show you that because that's how you see the game, okay? But now that you have this copy, you see how difficult of a play this is for Thompson. It is really freaking hard. So this is what actually happens. He gets his ass beaten really, really, really badly. Okay? This honestly is not that bad at the beginning. Rarely in this instance is a player going to spin to the inside, but he does. Okay? So he spins to the inside. I think maybe this should have been a twist because he's going out and this player is going to the inside right here. So it's still difficult. It is still such a difficult block, and you could see he gets thrown out the club right here. I mean, he is all the way in the Fred's Tigerland parking lot. And now Caden Durham is in a tough spot. But lucky enough, Caden Durham is an absolute freak, and here he is versus one of the best defensive tackles you'll ever see in the SEC. Get off me, okay? Now, let's pick it up from this angle. I want to shout out a friend of the channel, and it's my fault that he's never made an appearance here. T-Bob Abear tweeted this out, that this is one of the more ridiculous plays he has seen a wide receiver make, and it is. Boom. You want to know why Xavier Thomas is on the field? There's not another LSU wide receiver doing this. He puts Carmani McClain on his rear end, and look at that. It's not even that he's blocking him. He's checking to see if Carmani McClain still has a pulse. Somebody get the defibrillator out. Defibrillator. That is just gross. And it was also very important. Because this play was so blown up, Carmani McClain would have knifed in and easily made a tackle right here. So because we're able to get such a good block, that increases the space for Durham to run into over here, and he does just that. Now, I understand some would say Durham just needs to run out of bounds, but just with one timeout left, get as many yards as you possibly can and make this a manageable field goal. And you can see right here, this ended up being, we would have gotten brought down at our own 34-yard line. We get this all the way down to our basically 24-23-yard line. That two plays by the two smallest players of the field, physical, it was a physical force of nature play, turned a 50-yard field goal into a 40-yarder. Then Brian Kelly gets decked, okay? Hardest hit Weston Davis has made all year. I understand that's a bad joke. I shouldn't say that. Weston's had a few good plays. But right now, Weston Davis, if he continues, he would be by far the lowest graded LSU offensive starter of the modern era, okay? So this should have actually just been a penalty on 34 because he was the one that was excessive at the end of the play, and he stares him down, okay? Very selfish play. It's typical Florida Gator stuff. And this should have been an even easier field goal for us, but we ended up making it. So if you're Weston in the spot, you've got to chill. You've just got to chill here, but he doesn't, okay? So actually, I think that's where Weston's penalty actually got picked up. It might have just been on Florida with their initial extracurricular. So that was Weston being a little selfish here, and we just got to move on, all right, first play of the third quarter. We get in pistol. They know outside zone is coming. We still should be able to run on it, even if they know it's coming, because, look, this is still a six-man light-ish box with the slot corner way out here. I can make a case that we should widen this receiver here just to, potentially give us more space. I don't know at this point. I'm just trying to think of things that could work. But look at this. They're in too high. Got to be able to run on it, okay? Now, if anyone that's ever played defensive end, you know what a sled is, okay? This is basically, this is how bad it's been for Weston Davis. A defensive end of Tyreek Sapp's quality is basically just treating Weston Davis like he's a sled, right? This is teach tape on how to do this. This double right here could have been more physical, if you ask me, from Sharp, but he does need to get up here to potentially seal this guy to the outside for a potential bounce. But you could see here, okay, Weston Davis is vertical. He is basically a sled right here, just straight up. I mean, like a rock'em sock'em robot. It's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. I know this is the best player, one of the better defensive ends will play, but man, it's just tough. It's really, really, really tough. So now let's pick it up from the end zone copy, and you can see here, this time we do have Braylon Moore, and this is a good first step by Braylon. We want this to be as lateral as we possibly can. And this time we do have Caleb Banks doubled. All right. So if I'm Caden and I'm reading this, should he have continued to bounce this? Maybe if this block was a little bit better, but it does seem that this edge right here is set. So he feels that Sapp would be able to get off this and make this block. This is where the backside of this outside zone run needs to be blocked better from Cohen Eccles, right? We're seeing if there's someone else other than Paul Mabinga who got absolutely torched in this game last year. Can we find someone else to play left guard? Okay, so right here on outside zone, we want, if this guy is flying hard through this gap, we want to keep riding him this way, okay? So you can see this backer is in this gap. We can see this DT is also in this gap. So Caden sees that, and he's like, okay, if there's two guys here, this is going to be open. Well, what happens? Cohen Eccles gets ragdolled, and this DT is able to cross-face and then make the tackle as if he's Vita Vea here. We just don't have the dudes right now. We just don't simply have the dudes. Okay, so right here, and this has been a comment that I've gotten a few times about Garrett, about him not taking hits or him being a little skittish in the pocket. And look, those are valid concerns, somewhat in the red zone as well, dating back to last year. But in this instance, we are running a deep over, and we had a 3rd and 11 completion last week versus Tech for a first down by Garrett doing the same thing. So if we're running an over, backing up can give this guy more time to outrun the guy he's defending. We're always going to want Xavier to win in a foot race here, but there's actually a safety with leverage who you don't see right here, so it's going to be difficult all the time for him to get across his face in that instance, but that ends up being Garrett's best option here. But where this play broke down yet again was the protection. That's a good play by that DB as well. So, if this was just strictly man coverage, if it was just him on him, we're winning that a lot of the times, okay? Now, it's still one of those things, backside dig did end up opening, but it's just never being completed here. Okay, now, once again, Florida, away from the strength, has their 3-tech away from the strength call. It is a little bizarre, all right? It's not too bizarre, but Brian Kelly mentioned in the press conference that there was a bunch of different looks. In this instance, and one check I would make if I was Brad Davis, is if we're going up against a good guard and a good tackle to one side of the line of scrimmage, we want, especially on longer developing pass plays, we don't want this to just be a pure one-on-one situation because, number one, we're just getting beat a lot of the times just with them going one-on-one. And we're definitely getting beat when they're running twist stunts, okay? This is a tough pickup. So what I would do is have my center fan this way and just have more protection help versus the A-gap defender, okay? So it's tough. It honestly is a little bit tough to sort out doing it that way, but still, this twist stunt does get home. And now Garrett has 94, and Garrett with the bad torso, he just wants to avoid the hit, and I get that. And he throws the over, and it is incomplete. So this shot says it all, okay? A few years ago, Ken Dorsey of the Buffalo Bills had a viral blow-up as the offensive coordinator, okay? And it was way worse than what you're about to see right here. Way worse than that. And then Joe Brady eventually took over, okay? First off, I got to give this paper a lot of credit. That's a tough table slam. The fact that that is some beautiful stuff. We got a Monster energy drink up here. Let's go. Okay. I don't know I'm not sure if Sloan is drinking this. You could see from the angle of the Monster that it's going in this direction. I don't know if I ever want my OC drinking Monsters during a game. Nothing against Monsters. It's just, I think that would get me too jacked up. I actually do like Monster energy drinks. By the way, I'll take an NIL. This is going to sound crazy. If I would have known going into the game that Florida in a lot of instances are just walling their backs to us, I would have called some QB draws, okay? Because they're basically here giving you these yards. And the only way that a QB draw here is ever getting stopped is a twist stunt, okay, with someone like the play you just saw, all right? So Actually, right here, Banks would have been right there to pick up a QB draw. Uh, Once again, I'm just trying my best to not give Banks some three tech one-on-ones versus our guards. That's tough. Okay, so Garrett throws this. The route spacing here is just really bad. Okay, but it's also tough because this guy is just crumpling in our routes. The backer who's out here. Okay, so Garrett's got to throw it somewhere, and it always gets picked off. Okay, it's not really good offense. Also on third and longs, I always like there to be a shallow in-breaking option of some sort. Okay, and there is none here. Okay, we're running smash to the bottom. It's just oh. Alrighty, so we have a trivia question. When was the last pick six before Deshaun Spears taking one to the freaking hizzy? When was the last time we had one of those? Comment below, and once again, big thanks to our friends at Labor Therapy. Okay, so this play right here shows you the true value of a pick six. All right, our offense is atrocious right now. It's been 10 minutes since they've been back out on the field. So a unit that is getting crushed gets a elongated break before they go back out there. Now, an elongated break can hurt an offense that's actually in rhythm, but it can help an offense that is really struggling. So, what does Joe Sloan do? He calls an absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful play right here. It's a play that we rep a whole heck of a lot, and it's called Hoss Juke. Okay, and what makes it very interesting is that we motion out of it to give us, hey, is this going to be man or is this going to be zone? And after this guy went out here with the running back, Garrett knew pre-snap that the only guy that could be guarding Aaron over the middle is this linebacker. We're going to win this matchup every single time. So that long pick six, we might have been calling this play the entire time at this juncture, but that number one gave us a big lead. That also gave us time to really figure out what do we do versus these linebackers that are just walling off for end breakers. Let's call a play that we know is going to give us one-on-one versus a backer, okay? And you can see Aaron is at a leverage advantage. You can see Garrett reps this play like we've always repped it back with Jaden. You look at the safety, and then you work back to Aaron right here, and you're thinking, hey, we're throwing this football to Aaron right now, and then he jukes inside, and no one's guarding Aaron on the face of the earth on a play like that. Okay, we get really good protection. Look at this. This is another good adjustment. Let's always make sure we have Caleb Banks on a double. Now this time he's not in a three tech. He's on the A gap defender or in the A gap. This DT one-on-one. We get a really good block right here from Cohen Eccles. And that's honestly really good. He's a good athlete. Okay. It's just really, really, really good stuff right there by Eccles, and even better stuff by Tyree Adams in his one-on-one and Weston Davis. And now we're off to the races, okay? Really good stuff. Good job by Sloan getting to a play that we know we can run, and we've been repping the entire Joe Sloan, Garrett Nussmeier era for 4 years. And we get it to our best receiver on the team in Aaron Anderson. It's really, really, really good stuff. Okay, run a quick pitch, but to the field side, okay? Good stuff. This is just really well blocked across the way. It's one of Weston Davis's better reps, if you ask me. Okay, let's just not let him cross face or make this tackle. That's a good job right there by Weston. Let's see what happens here with Shanahan. It's honestly not that bad. Okay, yeah, this is pretty well blocked across the way. Okay, good stuff. We'll take that all day, every day. Good offense. All right. And a good finish right there from Juwan. Love to see it. So this is kind of a tough route to really break down. I will say this just has not worked with our tight ends going back to Mason Taylor. These switch vertical releases, it just doesn't work. It does look like we do have Chris right here on this in breaker. And we do. Okay, I mean it's all there is to it. I mean he's there. It's just Cohen Eccles loses his block here. He is in a one-on-one situation. Jawan's job is to pick up this backer. So maybe Jawan could have helped him out here. It's just, it's just a one-on-one spot right there. And Eccles actually kind of gets stopped in his own path by Jawan Johnson. We really don't want that, but that's still on Cohen. So now we need Garrett to get us out of the spot, and he does. Okay. Now, look, this spinning pirouette has gotten Garrett into some trouble. Almost did versus Louisiana Tech, but this time it does work. Okay. Last thing about this protection, Weston Davis. This is something that's also happened in practice. Some of the media portion, some other times. Weston just gets beat around the corner way too easy. The technique is just very sloppy too. I understand some people say pass protection is aggressive, but we never want to overset and just allow the edge to be compromised that easily. Okay, so we're in a lot of trouble. We're in a lot of trouble, and Garrett gets us out of it. Okay. At this point, I understand we want to get vertical, but we just don't have the protection to do that. We just don't. Dude, this play has given me a pain I can't locate. All right, y'all, this is a good play call. All right, remember we talked about why aren't we doing more split zones? We get it here with Bauer Sharp, who is a good receiver who has a lot of speed. But this time he gets hawked down by a linebacker. Okay, obviously linebacker knows what's coming. This is a good play by him. Now remember earlier, Xavion Thomas versus Carmani McClain. He put Carmani all the way down to Bro Bridge. Okay, now we have Nick Anderson, who's 6'4". All right, so it's not the same thing, but we need a better block here to the outside. Okay, I understand in this spot, it's just not that good. It's just not good enough. It's a tough block. We obviously don't want to draw a holding penalty. McClain just plays it better just in general, but we need a 6'4" tight end and a 6'4" receiver to find a way to get this done, and we don't get it done. Okay, we just don't. I would like to think Mason Taylor's getting that done. But still, we end up punting. And Brian Kelly said in the spot he would normally go for it. And most offenses, even up by 10, should go for it here. But the defense was playing so well, Brian Kelly goes against the math, and he's right. I probably would have done the same thing. Even though, like Brian Kelly, I'm very aggressive as a fourth down decision maker. So I like the decision by BK to punt. Sloan's best play call of the night. So remember, on that Hoss juke, they left a linebacker on the innermost slot receiver. This time with Bauer Sharp, this works as well. Something else that Florida had been doing a lot of, and this was a really good job, give that entire staff, all the way down to their offensive analysts, give them a lot of credit for figuring this out. Their safeties would start at the hash and then fan out to cap our verticals down the sideline. So to eventually attack the intermediate middle with the vertical behind these linebackers whose backs are to the quarterback, it's really, really, really good stuff. And this is a really good throw by Garrett Nussmeier. And boom, okay? This is where Bauer Sharp is great. He had a few plays like this at Oklahoma where he is running away from safeties. Now, of course, Castell does eventually hawk him down, but this is a safety versus a linebacker, okay? Once again, look at Xavion. He actually got a little bit closer to this than what I initially thought based on where he was, but still really, really, really good offense. This has been a problem for some of the offenses during the Brian Kelly era. Everybody does their job except one person, okay? So I'm skipping this. There was a first and 10 screen that got blown up, and now we get to here, all right? Now, with the motion, an extra defender does join the run fit, but take a look at what happens, okay? We are zone blocking here to the right side. We get a little lucky that these DTs are slanting away from where we're actually trying to run the football. We get really good blocks right here, right here. We're getting an excellent double team. This is a good climb right here. Man, it doesn't get much better than that. The only block from the offensive line that doesn't end up working is 91, after getting pushed back quite a bit here, eventually does split this double. and he's right here because both of our guys decided to climb to 29. But Juwan Johnson does a good job making him miss, and we get a really nice gain. But what happens? So after the nice gain, one person doesn't do his job, and it's Juwan Johnson. Okay? It is not of the most importance, but it is a struggle that both of our running backs aren't bruisers, right? It would be nice if Caleb was the number 2, or if we had another back that was a little bit more physical. Now, remember, Xavion had the big block to get us into better field goal range. He makes a huge play here. This ball is ready to be recovered for a fumble, but Xavion, full speed sprints, strips it loose. Okay, now we have a really good opportunity to recover this fumble, and guess what? Okay, 3rd and Port Allen here. Oh my goodness gracious. We get to the Garrett Nussmeier interception. This is one of the worst Garrett picks, and there have been some atrocious ones. I am slightly going to defend him here, and it's going. I know there are just so many instances where I've been labeled a Garrett sympathizer, and that's fine. Okay, man, this is. There's so many things I don't like about this in terms of our environment, but still, you should never throw an interception like this. And let's give Braylon Moore some credit for making a somewhat decent tackle here. Okay, actually, it was a pretty spectacular tackle for a center. Okay, now we get to here. Brian Kelly rightfully choose Garrett Nussmeier out. He is the captain. He is wearing the number 18 uniform, and it is a selfish thing. And Garrett's like, okay, it's on me. All right. In that spot, you just can't get lax, right? I understand as a QB you feel comfortable, your defense is there, you want to take a shot, but it is frustrating because you're not loving your offensive environment, you're not loving the play calling, you're not loving your supporting cast, so on and so on and so on, but you just can't throw it. Now, what actually happens? Well, let's take a look at the Skycam here. We do have some quick answers here on 3rd and 27, all right? The first thing I do want to bring up, though, is this is really awful from BK. In the second half of a close game, you literally cannot call more than one timeout before the end of the game. We have already blown 2. Okay, now we can get into the validity of the 2 timeouts that we actually called, but you want to avoid timeouts at all costs unless you're using them in time-saving measures, especially in the second half. Okay, so here, they're basically doing the same thing defensively like they had been. Okay, they're giving us a lot of the intermediate middle with their backs turned right here. Okay, QB draws crush versus this look quite a bit, but we don't want to call a QB draw with Garrett. We do have a few answers quick here. Okay, but remember, on the first drive of the game, Garrett threw a quick out to Caden Durham that was just missed. It was covered. Okay, this is never a bad option here. And then obviously we do have a deeper in-breaker that is indeed somewhat open over the middle here. But we also have a pivot route that's open to Barryon right here. It's just Weston Davis. It's bad. It's bad. He gets chopped down and really destroyed here. Okay, I mean, this is really, really, really bad. And yeah, I mean, it's unacceptable. There's just no other way around it. The first thing I would say here is I do think with this guy getting beat this bad, I would prefer Garrett to still step up into this. Okay, there's still guys in his lap though. I mean, it's a tough spot for a QB to be in. Okay, so you roll out to the right side, and there are no routes running towards the right side. This is a whip to this part of the field. Aaron's running a deep out. We have a dig breaking this way. So if you're Garrett, we're just in a really, really, really tough spot, okay? The hold was rightfully called. I do think Garrett saw that and said, look, we're punting here anyway, so let me just try it. Because obviously, if you're giving up a hold, let's just say this is incomplete, they're going to take this penalty to make sure they can get you out of field goal range. Okay, so now Garrett's like, okay, so if I throw something and it's incomplete, it's going to be 3rd and 27. Or it would be 3rd and 37 after the penalty, as sad as that sounds. Okay, you still can't throw this. I'm a little shocked right here that Sharp decided on the scramble drill to cut this way instead of cutting back this way and then weaving back towards Garrett. There's nothing. This could have been better. You know, we are ball watching a bit here. We do need our receivers trying to get back into the play. But still, Garrett decides to throw this. You know, there's nothing for him to work with over here. There's nothing. So he's like, okay, let me just try it here. In this spot, you do just need to just launch this way out of bounds over by the student section. But he tries to throw this with his back turn, and it's behind Caden, and it's picked. Okay? Yes, you shouldn't throw it, but it is frustrating when your environment is as bad as it is. And some of that is on Garrett. So there you go. Maybe okay. Okay, so Tamarcus Cooley saves us. Interception. We get the football back. We can ice the game away here. Okay? It is just honestly appalling how bad we are at just individual blocks. Okay? We have other offensive linemen we could go to. But we all know, you know, do you really want to do the DJ Chester experiment at guard? Do you really want to play Carius Kern in this spot? I do want to get this take off my chest. Actually, I'm going to save this take for the Patreon because it really is that explicit. Because, I mean, there's some things I just don't want to say publicly, but if you want to pay for it, go for it. So join our PHL Patreon, okay? Dude. I just want to live a life of happiness. That's it. That's all I want to do. Is it too much to ask? Is it too much to ask to be happy in life? I mean, there's just not a whole lot of things that make me happy in life. There's just not. LSU football is one of them. I feel like watching this run block, I feel like I am hanging upside down on a fish hook by my toenail, and my other leg is chopped off with. I'm trying to think. It was something I was said off a Saw movie, but it's gotten to the point where, whoa. Oh man, dude, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. I'd rather be dumped by a full jar of Blue Plate mayonnaise. Okay, or am I a Duke's guy? I don't know. I met a Blue Plate mayonnaise rep at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. She played soccer at LSU. Her name slips my mind. But either way, I would rather be dumped by that much mayonnaise than watch and break down this play ever again. Holy crap. Okay? So we're trying something else at guard. All right? We're trying something else here with Cohen Eccles. Okay? This is not Caleb Banks. All right? This is, I think, their second or even third string DT that's in this game right here. Okay? So watch what happens to Cohen Eccles on this play. He gets thrown out the club. Okay, this is a drunk frat guy at the Revelry next to the where the old Toronto's building is. He's had too many to drink, and the bouncer here is just throwing Connor out the club. Okay, unacceptable. Okay, it's just not good. All right, I understand it's a little pixelated. Live with it. Kind of like Connor's vision. It's looking like this camera angle. All right, now we then get to here. Weston Davis, please, okay? I understand this is a difficult block. You are having to get all the way out on this wide 9 technique. And Sapp does cut to the inside, but my goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Not great. Okay, let's go across the way. Josh Thompson. It's not the worst. It's still not great either. I mean, what is Caden Durham supposed to do? Simply asking you, what is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? Where is he supposed to go? Where is he supposed to go? This is Fournette versus Alabama, but the play calling wasn't nearly as predictable, and Jonathan Allen's not on that front. This is Florida's backup D-line outside of 94. So the one run that really worked for us was this quick pitch. And, yeah, I mean, it works. This is actually really good blocking, okay? This is better by Eccles. Actually, this is really good by Cohen Eccles. If we're going to get beat, let's make it tough for him to go around. That's really good right there from 78. And now Caden is getting vertical, and we're getting some good yards here, okay? I'll take that all day, every day. Really good stuff. Okay, 3rd and 2. This is piss poor blocking, somewhat cowardly coaching. Now, when I say cowardly, it's not me saying it with a negative connotation, but I do think in this scenario, Brian Kelly probably told Joe Sloan, hey, Garrett just threw the worst pick we've seen in a very long time. Let's just run it and take the game out of Garrett's hands. The clock will continue to move. We're already up by 2 possessions. Maybe we get it. We probably don't. But we should just run. So I do think there is some of that involved here. Okay? It's still not good. Because in the spot, I can live with the throw because a first down really hurts Florida's chances of coming back into the game. Okay? But so does a turnover. And we don't want that. Okay? So Garrett doing what he did last play leads to this. So what the heck happened? This is kind of a weird way of how we blocked this because it looks like it's zone blocking to the left. We do get a little bit of a late stem. This does become from a 4-eye technique, sap and in now becomes a 3. Then we also have a 5-2 front, which is always difficult to run against. And basically every gap is accounted for. So this is a very difficult rush design, even with the 2019 LSU offensive line and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's just not well blocked really at all, okay? Braylon has a bit of a tough rep because he sees 5 breaking in pretty late, and 90 is splitting this double. Then again, this is a zone block to the left, so you're thinking Braylon is picking this guy up. I don't know why Thompson decided to help here, because if we're all stepping to the left and we only have a double here, this gap becomes wide open, and the backer shoots it, and he's right there to tackle Caden in the backfield. It's just a mess. It's an absolute mess, okay? I don't mind a split zone. If we were split zoning this, Garrett is throwing this to Bauer more than likely into space, and we're picking up the first down, but it's still bad. Right, so we get the DJ Pickett interception. Great play by him. Better overall team defense. And, man, running the ball, once again, Bauer sharp. It's just not really his game blocking. He just gets 22 just dominates him. The one thing I will say is if we're going to do this, you got to pull it some of the time. If Garrett pulls it here, he's running for a semi-decent gain. This corner's probably peeling off and making that play, but still, it's a decent run on first, right? All the other blocks were okay, especially knowing that they know we're running. Okay, so imagine if you got a bag of Starburst, okay? And the Starburst is just full of all yellow Starburst. And there's a few orange mixed in there, maybe a red. This play right here is the pink Starburst, okay? You shouldn't overreact to this, okay? Pink Starbursts aren't the absolute best candy ever made, but this run tastes so damn sweet because we finally do get one to break. But we should not over freaking react to it, okay? It is so important that we don't. But it does bring up an interesting philosophical discussion we should have about the LSU run game, and we're going to do that right now because I love each and every one of you. Give Carmani McClain a lot of credit. He really battled in this game. This was a 5-star who came into everything with a big head. The Colorado thing happened, and now he's kind of coming into his own here. Okay, so the first thing about this run is Florida's not aligned well at all. They have 12 guys on the field, and basically, this is the Napier tenure as a whole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they basically give the game away, and Billy Napier is literally Derek Dooley. And if you don't get that joke, you're probably too young to watch this channel and to listen to some of the references that we do occasionally make. But there you go, Caden Durham, of course, busting this bad boy. Now, let's take a look at the end zone copy. First thing I like about this is we are in a heavy set personnel. All right? You can't really classify this as... So there's a few things that I do think bring some... So there's a few things about this play that is really interesting. So Trey Green is hurt. So with him being hurt, Donovan Green must step up. We are big Donovan Green believers. We do believe he should play more. Okay? Now, Bo Bordelon checks into the game. I've said quite a few things about Bo Bordelon and these tight formations. But this is a little bit different because the first thing that we elect to do is something called an overload, where you put more offensive linemen on one side of the field than the other. Okay, now this isn't a true overload because we are even across the way, but we put 2 tight ends to the right and we add an extra offensive lineman here to the left. So Weston Davis is replaced by Bo Bordelon, and Davis comes over and basically becomes a left side tight end. Okay, so we do get lucky that Florida is just not lined up properly, and to the play side, they don't have anybody in a 3-point stance. So this alignment really does suck. All right, so these blocks are really easy. Any offensive lineman that has ever existed is making this block. But I do like being under center, and I'm going to tell you why. When you're under center, it's just a lot harder for a backer to read the run game, and it's also harder for a backer to pick up on play action fakes. Now, it does take away one of Garrett's superpowers, which is reading a defense. You have to turn your back to the defense, but that's, of course, if we're only throwing it. Okay, so you see how the backers for Florida, they were screaming downfield on a lot of our runs. On this play, yes, they aren't aligned properly, but you really can't scream down, right? You have to see what the quarterback is actually going to do. So we do cave in this side of the line of scrimmage. Once again, these blocks are easy. They're not even looking at the line of scrimmage. If these blocks were not completed, I would have gone to personally take all the scholarships away from the offensive linemen here. But good job, Weston Davis, Paul Mabinga, and Tyree Adams finishing the game strong. But obviously the key block is made by PHL guest Jack Pyburn. And here's the thing. I know we talked about a lot of players in this film study who struggled. They're the ones out there fighting. Nothing what I say is personal at all. I'm so happy we're 3-0, and I honestly do love each and every one of these players on the team. Okay? So, Pyburn gets a big block here, and not only does he get the big block, notice how he takes it to this DB right here. Watch this. Boom, squares him up, just knocks him back. I mean, look, he's all the way back to New Roads right here. Caden Durham just has to take care of the rest. Okay, now, let's talk about this second half. We were saved by the Deshaun Spears INT. Pick sixes are so big for our struggling offense because, number one, it's points that we wouldn't have scored otherwise. Number two, we don't have to execute in the red zone where we're not really that great. Number three, it does give us more time to, find those plays that we think would work versus those looks. And we did eventually find those plays, right? It was Bauer Sharp and then, of course, the Aaron Anderson play. So Deshaun Spears, he had such a big impact on this game in the only 9 snaps that he played, SEC Defensive Player of the Week. But that was literally the single most important offensive play that we had of the night in so many different ways. Now, you know, there's so much that has been said about Joe Sloan no longer being the play caller of LSU. I'm fine with keeping him now because we are undefeated. I do think that is something, even though I'm not an end results kind of guy, it's just not what I like. I do think this is just bad form right here. Once again, Florida, undisciplined mess of a team. The game's over. I mean, what are you getting out of this? Once again, I hope that's not the same guy that's bad. Okay? The game's over. We'll play until the final whistle. No, this is not a Jameis Winston situation. Okay? We're going to take a knee like noble football players. Huh? But, you know, those explosive plays got us to a 6.1 yard per play mark, which is what a college football playoff offense normally averages. Was that a 6.1 yard per play performance? No. Let's start with the offensive line. It is truly an atrocity of an offensive line. It really, 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 really is that bad. And, you know, it just is what it is at this point. It's going to be really, really, really hard to get this fixed. That's how bad it is because structurally there are problems. Development, you can argue there are some big problems, but you know we just can't execute blocks. You know we just can't do it, and a lot of it is expounded that we don't have the QB run element to our offense. It's just something that we don't have. It's not an knock on Garrett. It just makes the life of our offense that much more difficult. Then, of course, you know, it is important to have just a conversation about the LSU wide receiver room. You know, there's been so much about this Garrett, the Heisman, and all that stuff. Aaron is truly fantastic. Xavion, same thing. Barryon, 2 targets. We can have a conversation about getting him more targets. Nick, so on and so on. We'll see what Chris does. But, you know, we don't have Malik out there. We don't have, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, BTJ, and even Mason to a certain degree. We just don't. We just don't have that. We have good receivers, but this rotation is still being figured out, and it's something we like. If we had a true, no doubt, first round alpha, that would also help us. But you're not having those guys on every one of your offenses. But the wide receivers, I mean, that's just nitpicking. They're playing fine for me right now. Garrett has got to play better. I mean, he just does. But you're hearing all these different things, right? The play calling and the structure and Weston Davis getting beat on almost every play. And it's different because last year our center was our weakest link. He was the only guy that was returning on this offensive line. Now he's benched. He's our number 6 swing offensive lineman. Now our center is our only strength. Tyree Adams is fine. His PFF grades are fine. The other 3 positions are not so fine. And, well, we're in this spot right now. So we'll see. Now, I said I have some hot takes for you. I cannot, in good conscience, keep LSU as the best team in the SEC right now. I think Georgia clearly needs to be ahead of LSU. Even though Tennessee lost to Georgia, I would have Tennessee ahead of LSU on my power rankings. And right now I have Oklahoma ahead of LSU in my power rankings. I'll save a link down below. LSU's number 4 because the defense is truly that transcendently good. But one thing I would also say, if it is one positive, you do get Southeastern, but more importantly, you do have Ole Miss coming up. Ole Miss probably has the worst defense in the SEC. So if you can't move the football and get more explosive against these groups, we're in a lot of trouble. So let me know what you guys think down below. Once again, big thanks to our friends at Labor Therapy. And I got to answer the Labor Therapy trivia question at the end of this. It is Devon keys. He had a pick 6 last year versus Baylor. Okay? It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! Tonight we are doing Detroit style pizza. Let's go.